What the heck is happening to the Golden State Warriors? As you all know, the Golden State Warriors over the last 4 games have actually lost 3 out of the last 4, with their most recent loss being against the Dallas Mavericks 109-99. In today's video, we're going to be going through 5 key changes that the Golden State Warriors need to make if they want to get back on track to make it back into the playoffs and hopefully win another NBA championship. So make sure to like this video, and guys, 92% of you are still not subscribed to the channel, so it would mean the world if you could subscribe to the channel, hit that red button down below. The first is that the Golden State Warriors rely too much on Steph and Curry in order to win games. Now, as you all know, Steph and Curry, this is his team, the Golden State Warriors. However, it does seem that the Warriors really do rely on Steph and Curry so much that they really struggle to win against any other team if Curry is not on the floor. If we actually look at some of their past games, you tend to actually see an actual pattern with everything. Some of the games that they have lost have been due to the fact that Steph and Curry has been out for those games. And if you look at the games where Curry is playing, he's usually leading the game in points as well, or leading that team, which I think is honestly a good thing, but also a bad thing at the same time. The reason for this is that if they rely too much on Steph and Curry all the time, all it takes is one injury, like what's been happening as of recent, and it could cause the downfall of the rest of the Warriors lineup. And this is why I think it is super important for all players to start becoming and more contributing in that scoring department, and not to rely on the greatest three-point shooter that we know, which is Stephen Curry himself. Now, don't get me wrong, it's great to have Curry out there, and it's great to have Curry get his shots up, but I feel everyone needs to continue to become a better scorer and become a better player if they need and want to win another NBA championship at the end of this season. They can't always rely on Curry to bail them out, because there are some games where Curry does have a cold night, and when those days come, other players need to step up. Now, we used to have Klay Thompson, who should be able to provide that, but now that Klay Thompson has had a bit of a struggling season, it hasn't really been the same ever since his 2 major injuries. And because of that, I think it's very important for the Warriors to really start to dive deep on who can lead the team if Curry is out, or if he is even off the floor at any certain time. Now, I think there's a lot of positions to give that to, but when it comes to Curry in general, although he is a fantastic player and has honestly provided so much for this team, other players need to step up, fill in their role if Curry is ever out, which is what they definitely need to do as of recent. If we look at their last 4 games, they've actually lost 3 out of the last 4, and one reason being maybe because Curry has been out for those games. And I think it honestly has had a huge effect on the Warriors so far, and I think it could definitely get worse, so they definitely need to fix this now before it's too late. The second is that Jonathan Kuminga needs to be given a bigger role coming into the rest of the season. Now, as you all know, earlier on this season, the Golden State Warriors not only struggled, but they almost lost Jonathan Kuminga due to the fact that he was getting frustrated with his role within this team, and he was actually asking for a trade if that role was not changed. Now, when it comes to Jonathan Kuminga, he has actually moved up into the starting lineup, and he's been putting on an absolute show. If we look at his average over the last 10 games, he's actually averaging 18 points, 2.8 assists, and also 5.7 rebounds, while also shooting 52% from the field and also a free throw percentage of 80%. So he's been putting on an absolute show for the Golden State Warriors, and I think this definitely can be a huge asset, as Jonathan Kuminga has probably been the second best player out there besides Stephen Curry himself. And I think now is a perfect time to give Jonathan Kuminga that role where he could be the Robin to Curry's Batman, and I think that would honestly help this team dramatically. Now, Jonathan Kuminga has definitely shown even in the last 2 games just how capable he is. In the most recent game, they did lose against Dallas, but he was able to drop 27 points, also 2 assists, and also 4 rebounds. He was actually the highest scorer in that matchup. He also had a win against San Antonio Spurs where he had 22 points and 5 rebounds as well. So he's definitely a big scorer for this team, and I think it can definitely continue on, especially when Curry is out for some time. When it comes to Kuminga, he definitely deserves that second in charge type of role in this team. He's been a great scorer, and not only just that, he's also been a great two-way player for them. Jonathan Kuminga has had a big duty guarding some of the best players around the league, especially when they verse bigger teams such as Dallas, maybe Lakers, or even at Milwaukee Bucks. But he has been given those roles, and he's been doing a fantastic job of playing great defense, but also providing a lot on both ends of the floor, which I think not many players in today's NBA can definitely do. So the fact that he's able to play great defense while also giving you 20-25 points per game, I think is going to be a huge asset, and I think it's something the Warriors desperately need to look at into helping him improve his game and also improve his role as time goes on. Third is that Klay Thompson needs to step up and start playing like his old self. Now, as you all know, Klay Thompson has definitely struggled a little bit so far this season, season, he's had some great games, but he's also had some pretty poor games at the same time. Now, his average so far this season is 17.2 points, 3.4 rebounds, and also 2.2 assists, and he is also shooting 42% from the field. Now, when it comes to him so far this season, he has been doing a pretty good job. However, he just hasn't really been himself completely, and you definitely see that on the floor. Yes, he is able to give you 10, 15, even sometimes 20 plus points. However, you can tell his defense is definitely not there. The way he's scoring, he doesn't really open up the floor that much as he used to, and I think those are some big signs that something definitely needs to change. And I think Klay Thompson can still be a great player, but it may be time to actually see Klay Thompson maybe come off the bench or have a different role within this team. But where he is right now, I don't think he can be his complete self, and although his injuries have definitely held him back quite a bit, he just hasn't really been playing like old Klay Thompson that we all know and love. Now, I do want to give benefit to the doubt because Klay Thompson going through two major injuries, one in the knee and also one in the Achilles, is definitely not easy for anyone, and I don't think anyone can really come back from that their complete self. However, I do believe the Warriors definitely need to change some of the things that they're doing if they want an actual shot at winning an NBA title at the end of this season and to turn this season around and make it back into the NBA playoffs. Now, Klay Thompson has been playing great, but I don't think he can be the second-hand man to Stephen Curry anymore if this Golden State Warriors team wants a chance. The fourth is that Trayce Jackson-Davis needs to be given a bigger role for this Golden State Warriors team. Now, as you all know, Trayce Jackson-Davis has definitely been such a surprise player for this Warriors team because he has become an absolute star for this Warriors once he is given the opportunity to play a lot more minutes. Now, Trayce Jackson-Davis has definitely had a couple of great games so far this season, but ever since a lot of other healthy players have actually returned to the roster, we've actually seen a player like Golden State Warriors Trayce Jackson-Davis actually sit out quite a bit. And I definitely think it has definitely taken a huge hit to his minutes because he wasn't seeing the similar amount of minutes that he used to see before a lot of major injuries happened. And if you look at one of their most recent games against the San Antonio Spurs, he actually had himself a great game in that matchup where he had 13 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and also had a monster dunk on Victor Wembanyama. But I do believe when it comes to Trayce Jackson-Davis, once given the actual minutes and the bigger role, he can definitely shine and do a lot for this team. If you also look at their recent game against the Dallas Mavericks, he did have himself 10 points and also 9 rebounds with also 1 assist. So he also did a pretty good job there. Now, the Warriors as a whole didn't really play the best, and that's one of the reasons why they did actually lose that game 109-99. But if he is given a good amount of minutes, we definitely see he is still very valuable out there, and I think he's going to be needed a lot more than the Warriors actually think. He has become a fan favorite to a lot of people due to his size and stature and what he's able to provide for this team. Now, when it comes to Trayce Jackson-Davis, he is a forward, but he definitely moves a lot like a guard, and he has ability to really guard 1 through 5 very, very well. Now, so far this season, he is averaging 7 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 1 assist. However, ever since seeing an increase in his minutes over the last 10 games for about 5 minutes just extra, he's been able to average 8.3 points now, 5.1 rebounds, and also 1.4 assists over the last 10 games. So you definitely see when his minutes go up, so does his numbers, and I think those definitely do show that when it comes to Trayce Jackson-Davis, if given the right opportunity, he can bowl out with the best of them. And even at such a very young age, and the fact that he is still a very young player in general, the fact that he has been able to show a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom out there on the floor and play like an actual veteran, he definitely has a lot of great tangible skills to become a great player in the future. The fifth is that the Golden State Warriors need to find a better role for Chris Paul. Now, I think this is something that hasn't really been solved just yet, but Chris Paul joining this team has definitely had a lot of eyebrows turning due to the fact that they didn't know how are they going to fit Chris Paul, who is a point guard, in a team that's led by a point guard of Stephen Curry. And I think it's definitely been a big problem, more than people actually can see. Now, when it comes to CP3, he has been playing great. He's averaging 9.3 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 7.1 assists. But it's definitely hard for Chris Paul to run the show, especially when Stephen Curry is out there on the floor, as they both also have different ways on actually how to run the game, especially when it comes to their pace and style of play. Chris Paul likes to play a lot more structured offense. He likes pick and roll actions and likes to get his teammates open, while Stephen Curry tends to play more of a free flow type basketball and continue to move without the ball and also cause a lot of havoc when it comes to pace and really push it as much as possible. So they definitely have two different theories out there when it comes to running the floor, and I think that we all thought that it was going to be a lot more versatility ability, but it has actually caused a little bit more confusion when it comes to what type of offense they want to run, especially when both of them are out there on the floor. And don't get me wrong, Chris Paul has had some great games so far this season. You know, he has been putting up some big numbers at times, but when it comes to actual game logs and when you look at when he plays great, you tend to actually see that times that he does play great is when Stephen Curry is actually out. And there's definitely a correlation between those two. If you look at one of the most recent games against San Antonio Spurs, he had himself 19 points, 8 assists, and 9 rebounds, so almost a triple-double. But when he does put up those types of numbers, you have to actually see that Stephen Curry has been out during those games. So I definitely think that they need to figure out where they can actually run Chris Paul and where he can be most efficient at, because it doesn't seem to be working when Chris Paul and Steph Curry are both out there on the floor, and it has caused a lot more confusion than actual any benefit to this team. So that's something they definitely need to solve.